Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oops, I don't know what I just did. Hi. I still can't believe it's this early, like in the West Coast, because of how boring this has been. So, okay, I did take a look at both the newer and the older contract, but I think maybe we'll cover the old contract first, whatever you guys want. I did include both for overnight conditions, but on the older contract, we did exactly what I thought. They did stall a little bit though, because on the old contract, I preferred that they would have taken this to 6.6. I think we said 6.644, 4.3, 4.5, right? This is hi. Yeah, and they I think we had like 4 points of reduction that was reduced. Guys, that's my little sister in the chat. I didn't even know that she had Twitch. So I think if that's the case, the area was like close to here. So that's probably why there's a little bit of reduction today. Not that much, maybe like close to like 4 to 5 points. And that could also be the reason why they breached this area a little bit this morning, because we wanted to ideally sustain above 60, 6609, 6610. Do you guys remember that? For overnight conditions, like we wanted to kind of sustain this area, the 0625, I think it was. Like this was the most ideal spots to sustain. So I feel like them failing to break range like that is probably the reason why they breached a little bit. Do you guys see this? So they probably could have afforded to have gone just a tiny bit lower, maybe like 6603 if they wanted to, because that's in relevance to like 6609 and hitting like these ranges in here. Bye. Thank you. So that's where that early morning reduction came in. Was off of this. So I think this is offset. So this is valid in the sense that they took it down because we were a little bit shy for meeting ranges this morning. When they came in opened, they opened us at 66.27, which again isn't bad. It's at least above that 66.22. It wasn't quite at that 66, 29, 30, 31. And if you guys remember, those were calculated ranges from yesterday's session. I think those were like the 22 points off real-time open, and they were also the 44 points, I think, off session open for the week. Yeah, so they still opened us in the zone. Does that make sense? Like if they had opened us maybe a little bit higher, closer to like 3.2. Thanks, Elise. Do you get that for free? If they had opened us just a little bit higher, I think we probably wouldn't be stuck down here. So normally before Fed release, since we have numbers tomorrow, so both Canada and the States have their numbers tomorrow. I'm pretty sure Canada does too. You're almost always in a zone or channel, okay? So this would be the zone, this would be the channel. On the new contract, okay, so let's go back to the new contract. So 3231, this is 44 points in range from weekly session open, okay? Which would be a lot better in terms of reducing risk. So on the new contract, what they basically did is they took it to a new zone. Does that make sense? Like you have, and then they did breach into the channel last night overnight, like back to like that 60. It's kind of like the inverse. Like you see how like our overhead last night was the 6640, 6644 on the old contract, and then you see how they held this 4344 right here. kind of like the support on the new contract, which is essentially the area that we want to hit on the old contract. Because if we can hit this area on the old contract, it implies that they can get us back to the zone. So it's actually really cool, because the way that they formulated this is that the 44-point range back from weekly session open is the top of the zone, so 632, and then the contract rollover, okay, which was I think 56.75 points, right? If you add that to 6632, it should give you 6688, which is a new zone. Do you see how calculated that is? So basically on the old contract, the overhead is the top of the zone. Okay, so 3.2. On the new contract, the overhead is that 8.8 mark. And they were able to break this 8.8 wall overnight. I think we said on the newer contract it was more like, I think a 44-point range from support off that 4.4, 4.5 was like close to here. Do you see the confluence? It's actually it's actually really cool. Because whichever way you look at it, whether it's a 44-point break off the contract rollover price, which I think is 4.5, okay, or a 44-point break from weekly session open, and then the contract rollover differential between the 3.2, which is the 44 points on the old contract, the rollover price would be right here. Isn't that insane? So they're perfectly like aligned. So in either case, ideally you want to get back over 3.2 on the old contract, and you want to try getting back into the zone on the new contract, because you almost always end up in a zone or channel before a Fed release. So I would be pretty surprised if they didn't bring it back to the zone. Does that make sense? Or at least break it back down to the channel. But the fact that they held 40, 4.3, 4.4 overnight, 4.5, which were our conditions on the old contract, I don't really see them breaking it back down to the channel. I feel like they have pretty decent odds that they would probably try retracting this back into the zone here. We definitely need some better structure breaks over like 7.8, 8.1, 8.5. Conditions that we had for expanding in the zone was if they could try pushing this closer to the 67.05, 02 area overnight, so like this area in here, and maybe they can give us the better range breaks before Fed release. So we definitely want to try getting into the zone before numbers are released tomorrow, okay? Does that make sense? Which one? Like, yes? Like this morning? Well, they're still at risk here, because I don't like that they, like on the new contract, how they took it to like, it makes sense too though, because like on the old contract, we wanted to hold above like 66.06.25, 66.09.25, 66.10.75, right? So like breaching beneath is not the best, right? But do you see how like the offset this morning helped us? It's the same thing on the new contract. Like on the new contract, I told you guys overnight conditions, we want to try breaking 6700, 6701. It's the same differential. Do you see what I'm saying? That they kind of allowed here with this. So technically speaking, they could have held core ranges like above 6.6. Obviously above on the new contract, it'd be like you want to hold above 6.666, which I know sounds super devilish, but that's what we had said. Like if they can get it, if they can sustain here, that would be the best case scenario. This is the equivalent to the neutral zone. So like basically the means which is 6658, 6664 area, is equivalent to that neutral area on the old contract. Both of which imply what? And it's really, really cool to see the 100-point theory make it so that whether it's on the old contract or new contract, both areas took it back to a spot that, with using the 100-point theory, both of those areas can imply volatility. Isn't that cool? Like the neutral zone is not really an area you want to be stuck in, right? The top of the means, you're kind of playing with fire here, coming back beneath 6.6, but holding above 5.8. Do you get what I'm saying? Just like on, where is it? On the old contract, you would have been playing with fire if you went back to 0.2. That would be the equivalent of going back to 5.8 on the new contract. It's actually really insane how they line up like that. And that the rollover price factors that in, that either way it would take it to a new area of volatility or a new area of strength. So taking it back to 2.932 on the old contract is strong. Taking it back to 8.890 on the new contract is a new zone. Do you get what I'm saying? Like exit of a zone, entry into a new zone. So we'll just have to see though if they have enough strength, I guess, to continue. I said I was going to try keeping the chart clean. That's not that's not looking very clean. What are all these lines? Are these from yesterday's session? I think these are the measurements. Yeah, they are. Okay, yeah, so then that would make sense because those would be the exact price points that we were using yesterday to measure. I'm going to cover Apple here in a second too. Where did they end up closing the actual session on ES yesterday on the old contract? I didn't actually go back and double check. I had to leave right away yesterday. Oh, they closed at 7.4. 16.9. That's not. So okay, that makes sense then. That's not bad. That's not great. So like 6616 and 6615. Like those are. That's not a bad closing price. Obviously, like we said, anything above 14, ideally 16.50 was good. Anything over 21.75, 22.50 would have been a bit better, right? So that also is that same 4.5 to 5.5 point reduction. And that's probably where it started. Does that make sense, guys? So on the new contract, the equivalent of that would be like probably would have needed a close like maybe closer to, I would say 7.8, 7.6, right? Like that would have been a much better close. 7.9. Does that make sense? Like these areas here, that's probably the exact reason why. Because last night I did say if they close this close to 6614, 661650, it's not bad. 662175, 66 22.75 area was best. Okay, that's probably where the reduction came in. They did, however, close the real-time session there, so that could help us in real time to come back to those ranges, because I'm pretty sure real-time on ES yesterday on the old contract got a decent close at 2.1. Where did they close the new one? Yeah, see? 7.925. Do you see that? Like this is more ideally where you want it to close, is close to like this area here. And instead they closed it down there. So let me just mark the real-time close from yesterday, because that is important, and then we'll see if this can help us in the real-time session today. It is still a little bit early, but we are starting to cut close on time here, especially like stalling the session, open session close here on both these contracts. Okay, on Apple. Apple did a really good job yesterday of kind of just nesting between 235 and 237. The 237, this is a pretty calculated area that I had. And then I noticed that into the session open, I don't know if you guys saw this. Do you see this? Like they directly tagged that 237 mark. Okay, this was the 4 a.m. open. So yeah, I saw JD too. JD actually, I had it up, was getting a decent move. I didn't trade that one though. And then once they opened the actual session, I noticed that they started, like, look at where they opened the session today on Apple. This was a really calculated open, okay? Like, pay attention here. Look at this. Okay, 237.17. So it was still a good open, but I think if they would have opened it just a tiny bit higher, okay, not much, but just a little bit higher, then this had a pretty decent odd of getting the full retracement back. So I figured based on the range that they took it down in that first minute and just the tiny bit of range right here, these could have been implied off the highs. So when I went and looked at this, because I was targeting 241.32, which is a measured area, I figured maybe they stall. I don't think they'll stall by the full 0.27, but at least by like the 0.5 area. So it probably would have to come back closer to like 241.26. And let me just mark the 241 on here. 241. Okay, like they did kind of stall right there, but it was actually a really good move, I would say, even considering like the little stall that they had here. Probably doesn't need too much in terms of strength, like close to like 9 cents. And then it kind of just rolled back, but I did leave half my contracts just in case they do turn this one back around. I would have preferred that they held closer to like probably at least like 239-ish, like maybe closer to here, but ES and the entire market has some odds just after 2, so I just kind of want to wait to see this afternoon. I think it is a bit of a grindy kind of session, even like with ES stalling off these opening ranges right here. NQ, I have to update this template, but this is kind of like the gap range. This was the 423 point gap, which is equivalent to, I'm pretty sure, the 44 point range. Okay, so I did notice that, and I noticed, or 66 points in range, so I noticed that they took it directly to that 24 area, like right off open. That was like the first overhead that I had, so that was kind of cool, if you want to mark that. And then they kind of just got stuck a little bit in here. So same sort of idea. You can kind of see like the same sort of theory here, even on NQ, like the 5.5 point reduction. Does that make sense? Because if you had 5.5 points on NQ, it's equivalent to like 35, 36 points. Do you guys get that concept? So same sort of idea is a lot of these had a reduction. So for NQ, you could basically just go 5.5 to 6 points by 6.5. So it should give you close to like this range in here. And we're kind of just like stuck in between right now on both ends. So they're, and that's due to the open close, you guys. So if you look at this, do you see how it's similar? Like the offset should be the exact same. So like this is where they're stalling upside. This is where they're still holding downside. There's a bit of a buffer in between, okay? Make sure you mark that 24, 461, 462 area on here too, because that was also calculated. And I noticed that that ended up aligning really well with the offset between 38, 39 points. I think this was the 143 ratio off of these spots that we measured yesterday, like that 64 or 24, 310, 12, like that area. What's that? Yeah, I'm not really liking it either, but I don't know. I feel like everyone feels that way, Euro, so I'm trying not to become like bear bias just yet because we did get a good real-time open on the session. So I'm trying to keep that in mind. Like an 8-5 open is actually a good open. A 2-7 open is a good open. It's not 2-9 or 3-1 or 3-2 like we wanted, right? But it's still above 2-2, 2-5. Does that make sense? So like even on NQ, okay, like you probably would have wanted an open closer to 7-9, 7-8, or on the new contract. Instead, they opened it here. So like this is the same thing. Do you see that? That 5.5 points, right? But real time, they actually kind of offset that. Do you see what I'm saying? Like in real time, they technically offset that on both the old and the new contract. So I don't know if it just requires maybe some patience. What I did is I took a long into tomorrow's expiration versus today off the 6-6. That's my trade. I don't know if I cover that, I might if they break this back down again, but I just figured that's better than getting chopped around beneath 7-4 and 7-8 this afternoon. And we did have those odds coming up here too, so we'll see. Most odds were after 2 o'clock. I also think Apple needs more relative strength though, so like they definitely need to start turning this around pretty soon. If do you know what I mean? You're long at 24,528. Okay, that's not bad. I think close to 3.6 was the slight overhead. So I would say being long beneath that is good. They did break it a tiny bit too, but stalling. We'll see. There's some odds here just before 2, just after 2. Most of the odds, though, are just after 2, so we'll have to see. And I think that some of the individual names have to start picking up some strength, too. JD was the China name that I was trading this morning. I didn't trade Bob or Badu, but China names were doing pretty good. Just a second, guys. Hi. Hi. Nobody's gonna answer me. They're at work. Hi, Peanut. I'll always answer you. I know, I'm talking to my niece. She's telling me what I want for my birthday, and apparently I want Gabby Dollhouse toys.
Yeah, Gabby Dollhouse toys are my favorite.
Yeah, they're my favorite too. I love Gabby's Dollhouse.
Oh, Izzy loves Gabby's.
Yeah, see, that's exactly what I want for my birthday.
Gabby bed right here.
I love your Gabby bed, Peanut.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Bluey bed.
Okay,
I love the Bluey bed too. It's so beautiful.
I'll talk to you guys later.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Are you going to preschool?
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
Have a good day at school.
Goodbye, Coffee.
Bye, Huston.
Bye, Mama. I love you.
Bye, chat.
Say bye, chat.
Bye.
Bye, chat. I told her I'd give her my birthday present, so she's like, I think Izzy loves Gabby's Dollhouse. I'm like, yeah. That's exactly what I want for my birthday. She's so cute. Okay, this is approximate time for maybe some turnaround here. So let's see. They held 6-8. That's good. They're holding upper core. So I wanted to see this time if they would hold above 6-6, 6-8 versus like breaching back beneath this area here. Okay. Because we have those odds at 2. So probably important that they build and base better structure just before 2, like especially at like 154, 59. The odds at 2 I think were around 207, 208. So let's see here. What do you guys think? You think that they hold over 6-6, 6-8 here? Let's do a poll. This is probably going to be the more important structural hold this afternoon. Because if they hold, then it gives us a good chance to hopefully clear 7-3, 7-4, because that's where we're stalling here. 7-3, 7-4, though, isn't enough to be progressive price action. We definitely need back over 7-8, 7-9, but I mean, it at least gives us better odds to get back to this area here, even if it's overnight. So let's get some votes on that. Apple needs back over this 239-ish mark. So we need some good sticks. 54 was the first flip. Apple getting a good stick here at 5-4. So remember how I said maybe some individual names need to start showing some relative strength here? I would say that that's pretty good on Apple. Let's take a look at Baba. I haven't traded Baba in so long, which I don't know why, because I used to love trading that name, but where's my Baba template? All I know is once Baba clears, I think it's the one, what is it? Is it the 118, 112 area that this thing gets like mass breaks? I'll have to find my template on that. I'll look at that later. Did you? Nice. Down here, that's a good fill. Hopefully they hold the line. Because I also didn't like that Apple also made a lower low. Even though like ES made a higher low, I didn't like the Apple starting to make a lower low. Like intraday, so probably important that this thing tries holding. NQ, I think, got a retest here of that 25 or 24.536. See if we can get some decent structural sticks. Well, we can look at Meta in a second. I think Meta finally, yeah, Meta cleared that. Like, do you see this? With maybe adjust it just slightly here. I don't know if you see this, like these ranges in here, but when we looked at it back in here last time, this is a better clearance break this time. So if I reset this, you see how it's kind of holding off of that 74642 now? And that was like into our flip dates. Maybe mark the 17th because they have their dividend date coming up too on Monday. So if they're going to retest it, I would imagine that they'd probably want to retest it soon. Because didn't we say that Meta could go to 837 or something like that? Wasn't that the target that we drew on here? This area here. 838. Yeah, It could, I think, if maybe, let me see what kind of setups it has on these smaller time frames. Like even this is a nice setup, but that flips over tomorrow, so it probably has to have at least a better structural break. This looks like it, like this is an outside bar, but do you see what I'm saying? Like this, I don't think that that could engulf. It'd really have to push the close today. So it would have to get news or something, I guess, to push. Because this could expand, right? Like this is pretty close to getting a outside break, and it's probably already hitting the 75% mark. Yeah, it is. That's where it stalled. Do you see that? So the cutoff is today though. So I don't know if they launch news or something maybe after hours. It is flagging too on some of the mid frames that run till mid-month, but it is stuck in a bit of an inside bar. This is not a bad frame. The 15-day could also be an extension. This flips on the 23rd. That's actually a really nice setup. But the ones that are kind of just stuck inside, 19 days also really nice too. Kind of runs till October. They report October 22nd. That gives it more than enough time then. Okay, let's go back. Just because we have really important times here coming up. I wanted to I don't even know if that's right though. Is that right? I think we said we split it up into approximately 500 points in between, right? And then like 458 or 464 or something like that. I don't know if we have to vet that though. I'm still back testing the zone theory on this. Like the point system, I think we have like set, but the zone theory on NQ, I'm still like unsure about that. Maybe this could be like this holding the bottom of the zone, but then stalling like a neutral area. I'm not sure. Extend for all? What do you mean? Oh, like extending the... Like the drawings, you mean? Like these? Oh, no, I didn't know that. How would it extend all though? Like you just select all? And then it does it, or how? Or it... Maybe when you start drawing future ones, it just extends them. Oh yeah. But the past ones, I might have to just manually extend them. That makes sense. Because I would imagine that if I change the setting on that, this would automatically extend, right? Like, no, it doesn't. I wonder why. Oh, that's okay. Hopefully we don't go back all the way to to 20,200 anytime soon. So far, still stuck here. Like I said, odds were better after 2 o'clock, so we'll see if they start progressing a little bit. Especially if they want to just pin the open today. I feel like they can't really move this too much. Let's just see what kind of structure breaks they get, though, around like the 204, 208 window. I said I was going to try keeping my chart clean. So on NQ... around this point here. Let's watch if we get any liquidity too. Need some better stick breaks. Okay, see, like, same thing again happening here on Apple. So very similar stick. That's actually ahead of flip this time though, because odds are better around like 03, 04, 07, 08. All right, everyone, majority voted yes last time. What do you guys think? Clear or buy? Let's just say 2:08 p.m. I know there's some extensions around 2:12, but I feel like we're battling only like 3 points, so can definitely get some better breaks on some of the individual names today. Thank you so much for the sub. Wow, for 9 months? I didn't even know that you could do 9 months on here. All right, guys, let's try to get some more votes in. This is a pretty important time of day here. That's why I went and streamed right now. Yeah, someone in the chat was talking about crypto this morning. I honestly haven't really had time to even look at crypto lately, but I would imagine it's probably right back at our levels. Yeah, it is. That 115, 116, 90 mark, that's the overhead. And I think once this starts getting back to this pink range in here, I'm pretty sure it, like, let's take a look. This is probably the box range it's been stuck in. Yeah, it is. This is, I just have to extend these. Exactly what we just talked about, Booth. You see it, you see this area here? Once it kind of clears this box right here, this could easily come back and get another one of those crazy crypto moves. I would mark the 116,980, 116,680, 117, 136 areas on your charts, because these are really important ranges. Like, crypto usually moves in around 6,000 points. So this would be like breaking it back halfway. Does that make sense? Like, clearing this area here could get it back to 120K. Like, in a very dumbed down way of looking at it. That would be the move. And this would be the cleared area to do so. I don't remember the exact days and increments that we were using though. Let's take a look. Like, I know that we were measuring off of here. This was like the first incremental bars that we measured. How many days is this? 22? Was it 22 days that we used on crypto? Does anyone remember? I don't remember if that was the case. I thought it was like 15 lots, and then let's take a look. Maybe it was like 12 to 11 bars. To 15. This would be the 15. This would be the 11. And I think 22 is probably the extension. I think that they could have extended to continue, and then they held. Like, so this is probably where they had to hold the line. Does that make sense, guys? And then I wonder from That's 22. Like this structure break. This is probably the 22 period here today. Which is half that 11, okay? Can someone document that on crypto? Just so I don't, when we come back and look at it, I don't forget. So like half the range of 22 is obviously 11. That was also the measured increment here. So their turnaround periods, basically it had to start turning around like post the 9th. This was the earliest odd, I would imagine, that they could have tried breaking this area here. Today's probably the better odd. And then if we measure off of our 29th stick, the 22-day interval is September 20th. So that could be the earliest point in time that they can come back and retest those range highs. How many days is this total? 37, 38. 34. That would make sense because we had the flip starting around like a 34, 38 day mark. Do you guys see this? Like between these structural breaks right here. Maybe we can look like 34, 38 days in these intervals. That's probably like this week. Yeah, I would mark those down. So today, tomorrow, really important days probably to get back over that 116,980 on crypto. We could definitely keep some crypto names on watch this week then. Oh, that's not my template for MARA. I'll have to find it. Where's our template? Oh. I would probably use... I don't know where our template is. We'll have to look at that in a second. Really good sticks here, guys. Like I said, there was a little extension through 210, 212, but I wanted to see if they'd at least retest here by 208. So 667325 retested off the 06, 07 sticks. See, Apple had a bit of a better stick though, right? So Apple getting a better push here. You could still mark 210, 212. I just wanted to at least retest these areas here before 208, especially on ES. What about NQ? And I guess for crypto, it could be the same thing in terms of maybe retesting this 116,980 wall. What time is it? This is 210, 212, because there was a, this was the window here. I'm just going to extend these because I'm trying to keep the chart relatively clean so I don't have to go and erase like 1,000 lines today. NQ retested the 24536. So can someone document that? Those conditions were met during that window. That was actually a really important window to come back and retest these ranges here. Even if they don't clear them, we have to at least meet conditions of retesting them. Let's chart JD really quickly. I haven't charted this one in a while. It's probably flagging on a 6-month. I just want to see if some of these based around here. Okay, so like maybe higher structural support back in here. That's not a bad looking structure on this if you go back and take a look at where it's flagging, kind of like in between. I don't know if you guys can see this. And then it has to start clearing once it breaks over like 3310, 3348. So this is setting up nicely for a retest of that 38 mark then, because that would be, this would be considered a cleared trade on JD, like back above this mark in here, this area here. Because this is now flagging off like a 6 to 10 month range. I didn't mark these, but I mean, I guess technically you could. Probably needed volume around this 34 mark. Okay, so this area here, do you see that? So there was liquidity there. That's probably the trade setup. We'll look at BABA maybe later in the session once ES clears. BMNR. Oh, nice. Apple getting close to retesting that 239 mark on here. I think Tesla made a tiny turnaround, not really much. Apple's still kind of, or ES still kind of stuck though, just beneath these marks. So they continue to extend this probably all the way through. Well, it's just like very boring range in terms of that. Do you know what I mean? That's why I did tomorrow's expiration. Just so I don't get killed with that theta decay. And they're relatively flat, so... I do like how this one's set up, though. I'm confused though, where did my base template go for MARA though? That's kind of strange because I've always had that one charted. Like, where did it go? This isn't the base one either. Like the really, unless I thought it was this template, but it's not. I'll have to find that. I don't know what happened to it. Yeah, I saw that. The contracts I bought were a little bit expensive. They weren't discounted, that's for sure. Let's see. Sending these to our 230 windows. I'll put this to a pretty wide extension just because we're not really moving that much anyway. It's the same thing with Apple, kind of extend these to our wider windows. Basically, we don't want to be beneath these ranges before 3 o'clock, because I feel like if we're beneath here before 3 o'clock, then we're definitely going to be back at risk of retesting that neutral zone, retesting the means on the new contract. Does that make sense? Like you'd still be at risk of retesting the ranges beneath. So like on this contract, you'd be at risk of coming back down here. On that old contract, you'd be at risk of retesting these neutral ranges back here, back at like 660206. And that's obviously going to put you back at risk of going back to weekly OR, which is 658825. We're trying to avoid that risk so that we can try getting back over 662122 on the old contract, 7879 on the newer one. Both core areas, so 20s, 70s, those are core ranges. Let's try getting some more votes, guys. 2 people, come on. So we did meet the conditions of at least testing these areas during that 204, 207, 208 period, which is good. They did tag it, but stalled right there. Do you think that they can afford to tag it and not break it this time, though, once we start getting closer to 230, 236? What do you guys think? Curious to know what you guys think. Yeah, also the 16th is a pretty important structural closing date, right? For the 17th. So we've got multiple flips today and tomorrow. So I would imagine that they'd have to close this somewhere constructive, right? Like them closing it in here would not really make any sense. Like this would cause a lot of confusion or volatility over the next 2 weeks. Can you guys let me know if something breaks here, just because I'm just doing something really quick. Let's go back here. Okay, we're getting some decent pushes here just ahead of 238. Apple looks like it's going to take out that 239 mark. See if we can get some better structure breaks here though on the index. I think NQ getting pretty close. We're going to watch the 230, 232, 236 window. Apple getting a better structure break here. ES still kind of stuck. Let's see if we get better traction here around 230, 232, 236. Idea is we want to try clearing this area before 3, just so we're not stuck down here by 3 o'clock, which I know isn't really as much of a movement, but like I said, it's more for like pinning the close today on this one than anything else. That's why maybe it's better to focus on some of the individual plays or individual names. Yeah, I saw that, but they're still kind of stalling. So even on Meta here, like, or Apple here stalling like 239. Did tag it though. A little bit more constructive than Apple. Meta doing really nice, so that's a really good stick on Meta. Like this, see, this is more constructive than ES. I know I saw that. It got stuck. This is a good break though. So go back here. I would mostly start getting more concerned on ES if it was still trading beneath this box range here by 3. I feel like as long as it's sustaining over 6.6, 6.8, that's probably fine. But once it starts getting closer to 3 o'clock and it's not even above 7.4, 7.5 yet, then I'd be more concerned, because the minimum condition is today to probably just bring it back to OR, since this is a good enough range. Obviously, getting it back to 8.5, 8.8 is the goal, but I feel like they just have to do that before FOMC release. So technically we still have all night and all day tomorrow. Does that make sense, guys? Because if on the old contract we want to try getting it back into the 20s and maybe the channel, right, before Fed release tomorrow, then they literally have all night tonight and all morning and afternoon tomorrow before release. But staying down here isn't going to help our odds. So let's see what they can do here. Nice. I don't know if I'll hold these calls into tomorrow though. Obviously that's going to depend on where we open, but or where we close, sorry. But I think an entry off 6.6 might be good, especially if they can get this back over 7.8, but we'll have to see where they take this to the close. Still kind of stuck here. I did notice some higher lows though off the 230 mark, which is good. I don't know if you guys saw that. A tiny bit of progress. Let's set some alerts. We need to break this 7.350 wall. What did you guys vote on that one? I feel like they need to at least try retesting this area here. Usually 238 has some odds sometimes too that we can watch, but the rollover. So NQ, same thing. We want to meet these conditions during these periods of time. They're just important to at least try keeping like odds somewhat favorable for the last part of the session this afternoon. Apple, since it showed more strength than the index, I definitely would want it to break over that 239 mark here. I wouldn't really want Apple to stall. Let's see. I'm gonna just get some water and make coffee, you guys. I'll be back in like in 5 minutes. Watch like the next 2-3 minutes though, because they are important to at least see if they retest these areas. You could probably extend to 238 since that's usually a generic point, especially since 230 was more of a back testing stick and sustainment. So you might get that extra minute or two window here. Like I said, we're still okay as long as they can clear this area by 3. I'd be more concerned if we were still stuck in here by 3 o'clock though, because then we'd be at risk of still back testing these ranges down here. Okay, I'll be right back. I forgot to grab glasses from upstairs. What do you guys think? What kind of drink should I make? I feel like something fancy today. I've been having plain coffee every single day. What should I have? Let's see. I'm not that fancy. I don't have that. What should I drink? I put a poll up. I don't know. I usually really like brown sugar shaken espresso, but I haven't been liking them that much lately for some reason. Hi, Stacy. A cardamom latte? No. I had a chai tea latte before I went to sleep last night. I don't really want cardamom. I feel like when you're hot up or just brown in general, you start getting sick of cardamom. There was one time I couldn't sleep for the life of me, and I was like, I didn't even drink that much coffee. I'm like, why can't I sleep? And then I realized that I had shawarma that day. An authentic shawarma has a shitload of cardamom. And I put so much, and I was like, oh. Cardamom? You know what cardamom is? Or the drinks. I'm an advocate green tea matcha hater. I do not like green tea or matcha. I am convinced people drink that forcefully and pretend to like it. Oh, really? Which ones did you watch, Big Daddy? Green tea? Green tea is so gross. I'm definitely a black tea drinker. I'm not a green tea drinker. White mocha is actually what I was leaning towards. I think I'll make that. I think that's what I'll make. I'll have to... I'm gonna save that in Discord and go back to it, because I don't know if Twitch saves the chats. Okay, I'll make that. I'll turn on the screen, but... Did they even break? Like, I know Apple did. Apple a little bit late, though. Oh yeah, so they're breaking a little bit in between here. That's still okay, because if they can bring this up before 4.5 then, or 4.8, then they have some decent odds to at least maybe retest even these ranges here, which would be even better. Because we really wanted to start breaking up here ahead of 3. There it is, that first stick break of 7.3 at 243. And I think Apple's finally trading above that 239 wall here. What about NQ? Well, NQ got a retest though at 3.6. NQ definitely a little bit stronger than ES today, just slightly. The shitty thing is like the PA is so slow. So this is good that they're testing ahead of like 248, 249, 3 o'clock, but they don't have high odds of clearing before these times. Does that make sense? So even if they come and test this area, that's good. It's more constructive, kind of like these sticks here. But because that could start implying that they're actually going to take out that range when they do come back and test this area here. So let's see. Okay, I'll do one last poll here before 3. So clear, guys, means you have to be closed above and trading above these areas. You can't just be sitting there. You have to be cleared above. So closing and trading above 7,450. Cleared over 6,674.50, 6,675 by, I'm not going to even say 3 o'clock. I'm going to go with 2:54 p.m. just to see what you guys think, because odds were a little bit before 3. 2:48, 2:50 would obviously be the best point in time, but okay, let me make that. I got this one white mocha sauce, but it kind of tastes fake. Like I don't really like the Torani sauces. I like those other sauces more. I don't know if I told you guys my furnace broke again. It's every time the power goes out in that area, because they've been doing like a lot of construction, I guess, in like for new construction, new builds in that area. Every single time that happens, my furnace goes out. I don't know why. And I have a waterless tank, so it's like the furnace and the water in one, so those are obviously like more expensive to replace, but I don't know, he got it up and working again, but now I'm just like obviously scared that it's gonna keep happening, so I'm gonna just send someone out there tomorrow. Those things are like $8,000 to replace. That's insane. Maybe that's the business we need to be in. 8 grand? I was like, hey, like 4, 3, 5 even, that's like reasonable. 8 to 10,000, that's insane. Yeah, that's true. It is a Tesla trade. All right, let's see here. Pretty good odds during this window. I gave you guys a bit of a buffer at 5.4, but this is the better point here, obviously, just so that, because then it opens up odds, guys, of retesting 7.8, 7.9 during like the 2:54, 3 o'clock period. Does that make sense? If they can break during this time, then we have odds of maybe testing here before 3. And that will give us odds of what? Try thinking about this. If they can clear this area as early as 2:48, 2:50 and avoid coming back to it and push to 7.6, 7.8, 7.9, what kind of odds could this put us in play for end of session today? Because we're basically trying to decide where they can take this to by close and before overnight. So what do you guys think? Yeah, maybe back to OR. This would heavily increase the odds of getting back to opening range. Maybe back to 8.8. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there could be some odds of this. So, and we're trying to focus on obviously the real-time ranges. I thought I turned this on. Did you guys hear anything turn on? Because that coffee machine's pretty freaking loud. I didn't hear anything. I don't think that turned on. Why? All right, let's see. So on the old contract, it's clearing that 1650 spot. Just give me 1 minute. My dad heard that coffee machine the other day and he's like, do you have a freaking lawnmower in your room? Like, what the hell is that sound? I was like... Okay, I'm back. Let's see. Oops. Oh, Katie, that's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. What kind of trades have you been making? I think I've just been, honestly, I've just been more selective with my trades lately. Like, I don't want to jinx myself. I've had 0 losses in the past, I think, like 2.5 weeks. But I don't want to jinx myself here. So, knock on wood. But I think it's just being more selective with these ranges. And obviously, covering positionings too. Yeah, just less trades overall, I think, is like really, really, really important. Really nice breaks here, guys, at 250. I thought I marked 250, no. 250 stick break. That's the first closing stick above that 7425. So this can help increase odds of maybe retesting this area here by 3. I would think that there's probably going to be like some midpoints around like 7625 area would be my thoughts, like this area here, 7750-ish, but we'll see. If maybe they can bring it to like at least this range here by 5455, then we have those odds in play for retesting session open, session close as early as 3 o'clock. Apple on the wider break, we figured could go to 243, 244. That's kind of been our bigger target overall. So these were just kind of like these pass ranges here, but the more calculated area was 24161. So we'll have to see if this can start building and basing a little bit better. Crypto's holding nicely above that little box. Maybe we'll see if crypto gets a break here by 3. I'll set an alert on this one too. 116. I'll just put it to 900. NQ getting a nice push. There we go. That's exactly the kind of break you'd want to see. Yeah, we looked at PLTR, I think, yesterday, right? So if they can get a break at the 4850 mark, which they did, and I think if they can clear this area here by, let's say, like 254, 255, like these midpoints, that'll give us pretty decent odds for a clearance of OR by 3. Okay, let's do one more poll. So clear session OR by 3 p.m. So that's that 7850, 7925 area. This would give us the highest odds of getting back to 8588, okay? Finally, my calls moved a little bit for tomorrow. I am happy, though, that I did tomorrow's expiration instead, just because of how slow this was moving. Meta was a lot stronger here, too. Almost back at highs. So where's the previous contract trading here? Probably the 16 to 19 area. So just beneath that 21, 22 range. That would make sense. Because overhead on the old contract is 2275, 2250. 2175 area. Usually you enter a bull zone around 1975, 20.25. It's kind of relative if we're measuring off 8.7 to 3.1 versus 8.8. So we'll see here. this also ended up being yesterday's session close for real time. I thought odds were kind of low that they could break this area by 3, but I mean, we'll see what they do here off the 5-5 stick. Maybe if they can at least get it over 7-6. So far it's looking like they're stalling a little bit. Oil had some pretty good strength today too. Banks are kind of flat. Remember we talked about the banks a little bit last week? And I said that we could maybe keep some of the bank names on watch. Especially heading into... did any of you guys take any of the bank longs into this week? From last week? I still have my city position. It's on its 4th bar. It's tagging that 178 mark here too, so this is setting up pretty nicely into tomorrow. Okay. Well, I definitely gave that trade idea on Thursday and Friday to long banks into next week, especially some of the more lower volatility ones like WFC. City. I think WFC is kind of still sitting sideways. This one actually might not be a bad point of entry because it hasn't really moved too much in range. I did Citigroup, but these ones still look pretty good too. Maybe ahead of Fed release tomorrow. Citi looked the most constructive. I just kind of like the daily setup on this one a little bit more. I did this week's expiration on this though. That would be a really good close on this if it ends up getting a break above to like 102.18, 101.98. Because I think with Citi that sets it up to push to 106. It's a pretty big move here if this clears this area here. This also kind of gives it like a let me just clear these levels so you guys can see the structure break on this. Basically, just pay attention to these red areas here. Okay. This is some midpoints in between here. But last time it stalled, it basically stalled. Okay. It basically stalled this massive wall. Okay. And if you notice this time, it's starting to clear that area. Do you see this? This right here. These are some better clearance breaks, and they actually flagged around these 97.60, 97.90, 97.88, 96.40. These were really big ranges, okay? So some structure breaks here, especially off this like 101.10. This can get it a nice push to like 106, 110 on Citigroup. Someone wants to share that idea in there. Kind of like a, this is more of like a cleared type of trade idea. Well, I did options on that one, not common, but options on Citi are usually pretty cheap. Alright, still stuck here. I didn't think that they could break before, like break 7.6, 7.7 by 254.55. It seemed pretty low. I figured that they'll probably at least test maybe the 7.776 like around this point here, but I just wanted to be back above this little blue overhead here before 3. Because I would say if we're above here but beneath here, okay, so above here but beneath here before 3, probably gives us at least some odds of getting a retest of like 8.1, 8.2, 8.5. Does that make sense? Maybe lower odds of getting 8.8 depending on how, you know, early they can retest this range in here. It kind of just gives, it's that same 5-point reduction maybe that they might do off of open. Does that make sense? Like, if they did something like that? Unless they gave us like a very good, like, constructive close. So do you see what I'm saying? Like maybe to here, like 8-1, 8-2. That's where they might limit range, like 80. So we might get maybe stuck just beneath OR, or like just above is the kind of setup I'm seeing. NQ has been more constructive, like I was saying before. We didn't really measure too much today on NQ, but pretty sure these were like the 214, 205, 221 holds. Right here, like this is like the 34-point hold. These were more aligned with like some of the overheads. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is the 143. Do you see it? So there definitely is some overhead here. 143 on NQ is the 22-point range, guys. Okay, off the 66-point metric. So like right in here somewhere, like right here. Okay, that's probably why they stalled there earlier. You can probably mark that on your charts if you want. I just didn't want to have too many lines on here, especially without context. But that would definitely be an overhead. Along with probably like this area here, which we already are looking at. That's where they stalled to open. Nice sticks here on NQ. Tesla getting some decent moves. Apple getting some good sticks. Apple's trying here. We still held 674 on ES here ahead of 3. So again, like I said, that's still okay. We just didn't want to be back in this box here before 3 and just after 3. We already know that there's some slight reduced ranges. They did have some slight odds just after 3 o'clock, but I did tomorrow's expiration just because it's probably going to be a pretty slow grind on ES this afternoon. NQ a little bit better. You guys, I swear, I feel like I'm like the Chandler in my family. Like, no one. When I hear my people, like my sisters and brothers and parents tell people like what I do for work, like I start laughing so hard. If you see these remarks, you would die. And especially my style of trading is kind of funny, you know? I think even to traders, they're like, what the hell is this girl doing? All right, let's see. There's some odds just after 3. They're a little bit delayed. I don't really care as long as we are above this blue box here after 3, but probably going to be closer to imbalance print since we've basically made an assumption that they might limit us around like these ranges today unless they want to be generous. And it does make sense because they don't really have to bring us to these spots until pre-Fed release. So we still technically have literally an entire day. Do you know what I'm saying? Until those numbers are released. Like it's still 24-hour period from now. So then we're not owed that. Obviously, I would love if they can get us to 8.588 today, so I can cover half my position before holding overnight. Better stick breaks on Apple here. I still think NQ is a little bit more constructive than ES, but yeah, I don't really know if I want to hold overnight, you know? Like, I mean, at least the release is not till the afternoon, but still. Canada's CPI's numbers weren't the greatest this morning too, so they were okay, but I think Europe has CPI numbers in the morning tonight, right, at 2 a.m. And then ECB president speaks at 3:30 tonight. So we could get some overnight London volatility today. We also have, what else do we have before the open? Germany has their 30-year bond auction. Canada has interest rate decision at 9:45 tomorrow. So just after the bell, just as an FYI, so that we can definitely watch for that because that could be a very good leading indicator. Last decision was the first time that they didn't cut this year, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do this time. Housing has also slowed down a lot here too. Houses staying on the market a lot longer. Before they were selling in under 24 hours. Now houses are sitting for 2 months. I think that's probably an important contributing factor too. We've also got some catalysts later after the bell, but not super important. We've got the Fed statement at 2 and 2:30, which I feel like we have enough catalysts overnight to give us some volatility before that gets released. So we'll have to see if they play a big factor on the index or not. Like I feel like Canada's rate decision and Europe CPIs should give us some sort of movement tonight. Yeah, like I've been seeing a lot of houses just sitting for a while. What is that noise? What keeps beeping? Is that my Apple Watch? I haven't used that thing in like months. Why does it keep beeping? Is it trying to connect to my new phone or something? Some slight pullbacks here, which honestly is expected after stalling like the midpoints between here and here. Do you see that? So they basically met like half the range right here to the exact spot. So kind of where I was saying I think they'd stall 67625-ish. So in terms of support, they probably have to hold, I would say, like half the range from, okay, like if we measure from here down, does that make sense? That's the equivalent. So like, they're cutting it pretty close there around 7325. I think that's where volatility could start to increase. And then the inverse on the upside would be if we measured off of here, when they break 7.9, maybe they extend to, yeah, that would make sense. See, like right off that 8.2, 8.1 area. Yeah, that's true. Oh, I don't think there's anything to be nervous about. I think that this is a pretty pinnable session, to be honest. And if you want to cover and just sit out, then that's probably fine too. I don't think there's super high volatility unless we obviously come back beneath, like, let's say 6.6, 6.8. The issue here is they left a little bit of room that if they wanted to bring this back a little bit lower to like 6.6, they definitely could. So that's the only annoying part. Hopefully they don't do that so that they can just kind of keep it. I would rather, even if it's like the most, even if it's like watching paint dry, I don't care as long as they can keep it tight in here. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a shit if it's like this all afternoon. I don't really care as long as they don't break this back down to 6.6, 6.8. Like, as long as they keep it above 7.3, 7.4. And if they don't want to give us back 8.5, 8.8, I don't really care as long as they kind of keep it within like this 10, 12 point range, which obviously could be excruciating if you're day trading it, which is why I'm saying I would probably not day trade, maybe do like a trade for tomorrow or end of week or something. I took the trade off 6.6 just because that had some better odds, I guess, in terms of risk reward. Apple, I might hold my Apple calls. I'm not sure yet because I'm targeting 243 and it got pretty close, but similar to ES, we need to break the 6706 area pre-release, I think. We'll have to see. Nice back test on NQ and a pretty good structural hold off that 24,545. Are there any other Europeans in here? I know Euro's European, but Smoes, I think he said, is from Germany. I don't know if he's here right now, but I wonder... I don't know many German traders, actually. Like, I know a lot of UK traders, but I don't really know many German traders. So 7.3 could be a decent long here, too, since when we looked at this, if you take this and measure off of here... Do you see how that ends up also being this 50% range? So I would say that that's still a decent hold, but they need progress now. I had some odds around 318 for a retest. We'll have to see. Oh, from the Netherlands, really? I don't think I've ever met anyone from the Netherlands. Estonia, Jane, is so cool because Estonia is such a small country. Isn't Estonia is Estonia the smallest country in Europe? Pretty sure it is. Smallest country in Europe. I guess Vatican, but... I feel like Netherlands looks a lot like Canada. Vatican is smallest by state. I mean, I think Canada's pretty boring too, but... You know how I know I'm Canadian, you guys? You want to know how? I actually kind of miss the winter. like I'm almost kind of excited for it to start snowing, which is so weird. Remind me of that when it's minus 30 in like 3 months, okay? That those words came out of my mouth. But sometimes I actually like the snow. You know what it is? In Canada, we have way more indoor activities during summer or during winter though. I think that's the issue. I feel like we don't have enough outdoor activities during summer. And we have way more indoor activities during winter, so I feel like there's more to do during the winter months, if that makes sense. So like during the summer, I feel like there's literally nothing to do, which I know sounds so weird, but and all these freaking bugs. Carbon, you're from Calgary, right? They didn't spray the city this year on purpose, apparently to save the bees. I swear to God, this is the first year I did not see a single bee. Like, so they didn't spray the city this year to help the bees, and I swear there was no bees, and there was like a billion mosquitoes. Like, so even sitting outside this summer was very unenjoyable because of all the mosquitoes that we had. Yeah, my dad got a snowblower too. He's so annoying with it. And a power washer. I'm like, why do you need a power washer? Like, for what? Like, I'm so confused. Oh, that's a really clean move on MARA. I wish I could find that template though. I don't know where it went. Where's our crazy MARA template? Maybe it's on... I don't know. I thought it was this template, but it's not. I think this was it and it somehow got deleted, because this has to be it. Like, I don't see it. Yeah, my dad is such a dad. He's like the definition of a dad. Like, my dad is like such a boomer dad too. Do your parents smoke, you guys? Like, anyone that has parents in their 60s? I feel like newer generation doesn't really smoke anymore, but I feel like the older generation, at least here, smokes. Or most of them smoked anyway. 'Cause every older person I know smokes for some reason. No, well, that's good. Oh, that's good. See, I feel like my mom is. My mom doesn't smoke. She's relatively healthy. My dad, on the other hand. Yeah, it's a really bad habit. No, I got my dad like a polo for his birthday the other year. And he like, he's like, this is nice, but I can't wear this. I'm like, why? He's like, there's no pocket for my cigarettes in the front. I'm like, you need a pocket for your cigarettes in the front. Like, or maybe you should just quit smoking. Like, there's a thought. Like, what? Wow, nice job, Snack. Honestly, I think it's maybe in like a decent consumption. I kind of like that the newer generation though is starting to realize how bad alcohol is for you, and it's like basically poisoning your body. These are some nice structure breaks here on MARA. I can't find my old template, but I would imagine that, let's see actually if we can pull it up just to see. Hi Bernie. KTOS. I don't know. Bernie just posted KTOS here in the chat. Let's see. Oh wow, that broke into like annual ranges here on this thing. It's a huge break. That doubles in price. What does this company do? Kratos Defense and Security Solutions. I mean, BMNR is a really nice daily flag. Like, this is just a nice setup in general, but... And what's the float size on this thing? I think it kind of depends on that, too. I think once crypto also gets, like, a big structural move here. Alright. Good stick holds, guys, off the 18-20 marks. See if they start giving us some stick breaks. Usually there's odds on ES around 324. I didn't mark it today, but I guess since they did get this break back here at 50, 51, 52, we could probably see something similar around the 22, 23, 24, like just before the 330 period. If it's kind of a similar trend, I wouldn't worry too much. I would be more concerned if we started hitting close to like 336 and we were still beneath 7625 or something like that. I don't know why my broker lately, every single time it logs me out, it like keeps making me re-authenticate when I set it like a million times to just trust this computer. I don't know why it's doing that. It's so annoying. What was I gonna say? I want to find the old template on this, like it has to be one of these. Like there's, oh, there it is. See? So that's weird. I swear I pulled that up. Okay, I know that this is a big area. Guys, this is a huge area on MARA. I remember that 1756-58. I was like, it's 17 something. I don't remember what it is. This thing busts that. This is where it could push to like 1824, 1830, 1829. I was trying to remember what the exact ranges were. This is what they are. This is a huge spot, especially clearing over 1696, 1699. So really good structural holds here. It gives it pretty good odds of breaking that wall. Just for whoever's in this. Who's tagging me? Oh. ES getting some structural breaks back down. I still think that's okay. Maybe I would put like some, when we looked at that 70.5, 71 area, if they fail this range here, but we don't want it to reduce too much in range, especially after 330. I feel like before 330 it's not as bad. I just want to see what kind of reductions these are though, because these could imply the moves when they break. So maybe 2.75. I figured it's probably close to that 7.7 area. Yeah, it is. Like this area in here. So they're really trying to limit this range a little bit. They might, but they don't need to is the issue, Elgo. Does that make sense? Like, they don't have to. That's why I said I'd maybe look at more individual names today. Like, there's some better moves going on some other individual stock, which I think could be a little bit more fun to trade too, to be honest. Yeah, that's that area that we talked about. So if, like, this is like the measured metric off of the 6.6 is like around here. Off of 6.8 I think is closer to here. So either they really have to hold the line here or immediately retrace. Does that make sense? Because that's the overhead. And what you could look at is all the range during this period here is probably going to be maybe where they're capping it. So 5.75 makes sense since those are the ranges that they've been working with all day. So maybe close to that 80.75. Remember how I said that they might cap us around 80, 81, 82, like if they really wanted to today? So these ranges here give us those probabilities. 80.75 off of here, close to like 82. Let's just mark these on here. 80.75. But they'd have to immediately negate because this is basically the 50% range off 6.8. This is this 50% range off 6.6, like close to like the 6.9 area where they held. So what do you guys think? You think that they hold the line here? Holding the line here means that they do not test 6.6. Okay, so because that would be holding off of 6.9, that's equated to that 6.6 hold. But it would have to immediately negate, which is what it's trying to do here off 328. And definitely has to try pushing back over 7.3, 7.4 during the imbalance window. They definitely reduced range here a little bit this afternoon, probably by 5.75 points. That's what I was saying we had odds of doing today. If you measure that off of OR, it would really limit us back to session open versus real-time open, real-time close. And that was the exact range reduction that we had here today, was 5.75. Takes us back beneath the 8.5 open back to 6.6, 7.925, 6.6, 7.875. So it's actually really interesting that they did that. That's probably also the exact range in terms of where that structural support is, around 6.6, 6.7. Or even like the range between like some of these higher lows and these structural support spots here, like right in here. It's a pretty boring session, okay? But it is pinnable, so them taking it here though before 3 and keeping it here just after 3 does increase our odds of trying to hold the line above 6.6 and 6.8, but and keep it back in this range here into the close, which obviously is not very much range, but they'd really have to hold, I would say, probably between the 36, 38 interval. The issue is they left a bit of downside room. Like, I would have rather they held 6-6 here, because it would have probably eliminated the later afternoon risk. Does that make sense? Especially if they didn't take out this area here. So, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, this kind of range right here, okay, is still the risk that we had on. This is the range that they stalled us by. Do you see what I'm saying? So they basically kept 2.5 points of downside risk on and didn't retract 2.5 points of upside up here back to like these areas here at 7.9, 7.8, basically back to session, open session close, which is kind of annoying because then it just makes it for a very sideways afternoon. But one end has to break for range to occur. So basically, like, you have to take out 6-6 this afternoon to get a bigger structural breakdown. You'd have to break 7-9, 8-1 to get a bigger structural break up. So we'll see here. Let's see how many people think that they're going to hold the line at 6-6. 6-6, 6-6 hold. I'll set that to just a minute. If you guys can vote fast on that, just because we have odds coming up here before 3:36. This is a really big point in the session today. Just setting some alerts on these because I did pick up some MARA, guys. I like the setup. I did like that they held off that $16.99. I just couldn't remember what the exact price was, but breaking this area here could give some really good moves on this. Also, crypto being back in this box range here too. Tesla getting some better structural sticks here, guys. Tesla getting some big moves, guys, back over 422. I think that's a new high for real time here on the session for Tesla. If anyone tried Tesla this afternoon, way better stick breaks here. So I was saying I would maybe look at maybe some individual stocks instead today. They might move a little bit better. Tesla, we want to basically get back to these 34-point ranges. So this is the overhead around 435. If we measure off where they actually cleared yesterday, it's kind of closer to like 429. If we measure where they closed on Friday, even getting back to 426, 427 area today would be good, okay? So I'm not sure if they'll get us all the way there into the close, but they're definitely trying to push this a little bit. Poll, what did you guys vote? 16 voted yes, that they would hold 6-6. Okay, let's see. Some structural breaks back beneath here. Retest of 6-6. They kind of left some risk on. Back to like 6-5, 6-6 area. It's going to be an interesting close. Here's the 6-6, 6-5 retest, guys. Pretty big area here, especially around that 336, 330, 345 period. This is where we're going to decide if they want to actually try holding the line here or if they're going to keep risk on for downside. Keeping risk on for downside, I think, is going to heavily decrease odds of us getting back to the 70s here into the close. So see if they can try holding here. This could end up being a pretty good long off this area, guys, if they hold the line. But obviously they'd have to have immediate sticks through. So like right off like the 3-7, 3-8 marks. This is the 3-8 stick, right? So 3-8 has to have some really good strength. Did anyone get filled at 6-6? I figured it could breach 6-6, 6-6 a little tiny bit. I didn't really want it going beneath like 65 though. But you need really good sticks here to negate the risk. So you need like breaks back over 6-9-50, 7-1-2-5, 7-2-2-5. And probably no later than like 345 to get back into this box here, okay? That'll keep your odds in play for maybe the later moves back to OR by end of session today. So see if they can get back at least to here in the next few minutes to save the range for the day and keep us from some really ugly risk back to the means. Like, so on the old contract, it would be like breaking back beneath 66.05, I think. I think. Let me just double check. Oh, wow. That's the exact 66.09.25 back test, guys, on the old contract. Can someone document that? That's Izzy's exact spot at 66.09.25. That's a very, 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 very measured spot. That's 346 points in range right here off this stick. That's really interesting. So obviously a big spot to kind of try holding here and breaking back into the close. I still think that the risk is high though if they don't retract some range here pretty soon. Like at least back over, I think it was like 6-9, this 70-50 spot, I think is what it was when I measured it manually. And like 7-2. So it doesn't fully need back all the way to here right away, but at least back to these ranges here. NQ went back to that 3633 area. Apple just kind of hovering 239. I think Tesla got some more sticks though to 423. Tesla, I figured if it gets its moves back off the Friday closing points, it would kind of be like maybe heading back to like 427, 426. I'm not sure if it can get all the way back there, but they're definitely trying to push this a little bit into the close. Meta stronger too. Thank you for the Meta trade, Carbon. I really liked how that one was acting back here around like that 230, 232 period. So I picked up 4 contracts. I'll probably sell that into the close though. I don't think I'm going to hold too much overnight. But it does look really good in terms of like a retest. On my other template too, I noticed it was holding that 743 mark here. So that can give you some decent odds of retesting this range in here. Where is it? 1.75, like right here. And here. Which I think is kind of the previous overhead. Do you see that? If you look at it from like an open close perspective, it should align with the open close from here. Closing range from here should align with the high ranges from here. So today you'd probably want to look for at least a minimum close at I'll look at my other template in a second, but at least around this spot here, like this 776. And maybe after the bell, if it can break. I don't know if it's going to get that much of a break into the close, but they're definitely trying. So yeah, individual names a lot better today than playing the indices for sure. MARA, I think, is getting a retest here of that 5-6 mark. Watch to see before the last 15 minutes into the close. We're still watching crypto too for this break into the close. What about, so I guess NQ has to retest 24,545. ES needs back over this, like I said, 6671, 72. Ideally by the 4-5 mark, okay? Just so that at least you then have odds of retesting 7.3, 7.4 before 350. Does that make sense? Like, if you're beneath here before 350, that's going to keep your risk on here, okay? Which obviously we want to reduce that risk. We don't really want to go back beneath 66.09 on the old contract, 66.66 on the new contract. Okay? 66.71 retest here. These are kind of the ranges that we could look for ahead of 345. 345 breaks back over 7.2. That's going to really help our odds here in decreasing risk if anyone tried the longs off 6.6. Meta actually maybe could get that full break here. This is really pushing. Maybe if they do like an intermediate break, it would be like around 780, 780.56. So maybe that could be like an afternoon overhead here on that one. I think Apple is still the same in terms of range. And same with this one here. They're still stuck though on ES. Unless we get some really big sticks into the close, I'm probably going to cover my position on this one into the close today. But I think our areas of entry around 6.6, 6.8 were money. And like the fact that we knew that them stalling around here would maybe reduce our range for the overall session today. We still could get 8.1, 8.2, but it's... This thing definitely has to start breaking here soon, at least back over this mark. They have to be over 7.3, 7.4 though by 350 for this to even be any way of a probability, okay? All right, so let's see here. 7.2, 7.1 retest off that 345 mark. Basically, we just want to try getting some structure breaks before 348, 350. I think testing 7.1, 25, 7.2 at 345 can help our odds here a little bit. So far, 7.150 highs off that 345 stick. Nice. That's a good trade. Thanks, Carbon, for the Meta trade, though. I had everything on watch, and I somehow missed that one this morning. This looks like it could get that 780, 780.5 break and set up for that retest of highs. I didn't take it when you took it, though, down here. I took it in this box range in here when I started getting some good structure breaks. I took this one a bit late too, but that was a good call by LI, and I think one other person mentioned it this morning. All right, let's see here. Some tiny reductions. You can even see it on NQ. So really good structural hold at 345 on NQ, right off that 24536 to the penny. See if they can get an immediate follow-through stick. You definitely want to clear this wall here before 350. Probably ideally before 348, actually. because it has a lot of range to make up. So since they stalled here, you want to maybe get back to here by 348. Because then at least that way it gives 350 some good odds. Yeah, I said to put those on watch for a swing trade, I think like 2 months ago for Q3, and then I ended up selling both of them early. I think Arun was in one of them. These were some Q3 picks that I gave back in like June for the summer. But I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I kept it. I didn't. I didn't keep it. Did you trade those? Oh wow, we actually have more viewers on YouTube today. I haven't really been having that many viewers on YouTube. There's a lot more on YouTube today. And even on here, a little bit better. Back to like the previous numbers. We need to get back over like 75 viewers on average. Nice. Kat, I did not look at her trade. This is setting up pretty nicely, guys. Because I did say that if they can retest the 7374 as early as 348, this can really help our odds around 350. Meaning 350 could come back, retest 7625, maybe this area that we talked about here around 7750, 78. We'll see what kind of range we can get before the 350 flip. Let's extend this. MARA getting some retest here of that high. These ones I might hold. We'll see. Crypto's kind of one of those crazy names sometimes. Any crypto related names. Really funny how a lot of things are kind of just trading right at their mass overhead. See what kind of stick breaks we get here. Is Tesla still moving or did Tesla stop? Tesla stopped. What time is it? This can still keep risk on. I don't like that they kind of stalled 7325 before 350, but we'll see what kind of sticks we can get in the second half of this 4-9 stick. Like if it could at least hold over 7225 and maybe retest 73. Let's see. How much time is left? 15 seconds? Let's see. They're testing the last few seconds here. 7-3 retest here. Looks like they took it right to 7275, 73. 0.25 offset though. So I would expect that the first 10 seconds of the 350 stick, you have to get some closing sticks above here. 7425 close. I want to see if they can retest this range here before the 30-second interval just to kind of decrease the risk. Or at least hold the line above 7.3 since it wasn't the exact best range. Like it was okay that they brought it here, but you see how like they kind of stalled just a tiny bit? That could mean a 0.5 reduction, and so far that's exactly what it is. Do you see it? Look. Do you guys see the 0.5 reduction here? Do you see it? So someone write that in the Discord. There's 0.5 offsets here ahead of 350 into 350. And the way that they could offset that is if they close, let's say, at least 0.5 above or sustain 0.5 above. So it'd be around 7.5, 7.4, 7.5. See if you get some good follow-throughs on this stick at 5.1. I still think this is not bad. This is okay. At least they tested 7.325 ahead. But there is a tiny reduction. So just keep that in mind. MARA, I think, got the stick breaks, though. There it is, right on time. For that 1759 stick break, 1758 close on this one. This can easily push to that 1795, 1813. I think 1824, 1830 would be the overhead on that. Meta got that stick break to 780.56. Thank you for that one, Carbon. That was a really, really, really solid trade on this. And the fact that they broke half this range at that 350 mark implies that they could actually give full range on this, which would be to 785, 784. That's maybe where they could hover this after the close today on Meta. Nice call on that one, Carbon and LI on MARA. Thank you guys for those two trades. So what do you guys think? You think ES can tag the 70s, like the 7.778? You think that they could push 8.182? How many still think that there's odds of 8.5, 8.8? I think that those odds are heavily reduced for real time, unless obviously 354, 355 give us like some crazy pushes. I still feel like 80.75, 8.150, 8.2 could be max, and that's only if they can clear 7.778, probably before 356, because they might just kind of keep this pinnable at these ranges. Max range for real-time session today. What do you guys think? 7.6 to 7.8, 7.850 to 7. I'm making these very tight ranges, by the way. 80.75 to 82, 83.50 to 85. 85 to 88. I didn't really think that those odds were high. Vote on that one quickly, though, because I didn't really leave too much time. Some slight sell-offs here. You still need crypto to break this wall, though, I think, for some continuation on this one. Well, on the old contract, I think this here is still beneath 2.2. I noticed something actually very interesting, but I'll point it out into the close. What do you guys notice about the last 15 into this close versus the last 15 or 30 until yesterday's close? Something really specific stands out here. So from here to here, this was yesterday. What do you guys notice? 3.75 in range. Yesterday I would have preferred that they held 0925, and they didn't. They held closer to 06. Okay, so, and then they took it to here. Do you see what I'm saying? Those could be some of the ranges into session close today, maybe. If they reduce it by this amount of range, it's kind of just takes it right back to where they're stalling here, like 19.25. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think this 0.5 offset, 355, 354, kind of stalling this area here. Definitely not a good spot to stall. See if the 30-second turnaround tries bringing this back over that 7.3, 7.4 wall. You guys voted 7.879 as second place was 7.678, 80. Well, I did say that I think the 5.6 stick would have to have some breaks over this 7.6 to even give an odd of 8.182. So unless this thing can get some really good breaks back over this area here, they kind of just saved the line last seconds. I don't know if you guys saw that. That means your 5.6 stick has to do the work. Okay, because it basically tagged 7.425 at 5.5 and then closed at 7.325. Do you see this? It's trying its best to not die, basically, is what it's doing. 7.6 would have to be the immediate negation of this, so retesting that 350. Stick, or at least a close above, let's say 7.4, to give another odd of resets into the close. Okay, I need to focus on some positions into the close here because I don't want to hold too much overnight. Apple getting some sell-offs into the close too, so I want to kind of focus on that. Aw, thank you. Thanks for that. How much time do we have left, guys? Two minutes? Yeah, I would be a bit careful here with that kind of stick. What was my base cost on this? Oh. I didn't really like where Apple kind of went back into the close, but I think I'll hold them because I didn't really have too many left over. SPY I covered. MARA I'll keep half just because it's a decent close. Yeah, MARA I kept half. Apple I capped, SPY I covered. I didn't really like the closing points on ES here, so we'll see if they give some better structure breaks into the close. This was pretty obvious though, especially when they stalled 7-4 here at 5-5, 5-4. This was its final odd for turnaround, so we could assume that the range that they were going to give us here, maybe on this 5-7, 5-8 stick, 5-9 stick, there was about 4 points in range, so probably had some odds of getting at least a retest of that 7-7, 7-5 area. 8 points total, which is probably going to be right around the 8-1-7-5. So they might be able to take it there maybe after the close, but they definitely had some reductions after stalling that area here. Apple, I didn't really like that they broke it back beneath 238, but there's still some time on this one, so I'll probably just give it till tomorrow to see if they can bring this back in range. Tesla I covered. Meta had the better breaks. I still think 6706, 07, 08 is a big area on the index though, which is going to be equivalent to like ES testing that 6645, 44, 48 on the old contract. But they could just be, yeah, exactly, de-risking into the close, which makes sense. Any questions, guys, before we end the session today? Or I think it was pretty straightforward. I think once we kind of saw what they were doing around here, it was pretty obvious that they would maybe just kind of keep us stuck especially the 7-6 stall, the 7-4 stalls here. We did have some odds that they could give us 7-7, 80, 8-1. These reductions implied exactly this 8-1, 8-2 spot, but and the range that they gave, and they took it right back to 6-6, 6-5, which on the old contract is actually insane that it's that exact 6609 area. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you guys. I don't know who sent that, but thank you. And thank you, Brokey, for all the subs and gifts. I didn't see that. I was closing out some of my positions. You guys are awesome. I will stream tomorrow's FOMC session, so I will be streaming that whole session tomorrow. I'll probably start the session maybe an hour before Fed, and I'll probably stream it into the close. So probably around like 1 Eastern time, maybe, or like, because that would be 11 my time. Yeah, maybe like 11 or 10:30 my time, so like around then. I think they could still bring this back to these areas, though, now that I've looked at this, so we'll have to see what they do. All right, I'll catch